Have you ever met a woman who didn't raise her voice to win an argument, but instead lowered the temperature in the entire room just by the way she breathed? The kind of woman who doesn't chase love, yet somehow becomes unforgettable? She doesn't manipulate, doesn't play games. And yet, people lean in. They listen. They trust her. They respect her. And when she walks away, they feel her absence like a hush after music. What you felt in her wasn't just confidence. It wasn't charm or beauty or timing. It was emotional intelligence, and it changes everything. Not the textbook kind. Not buzzwords. I'm talking about real emotional strength. The kind forged in silence, built from setbacks, shaped in the quiet hours of self-reflection. The kind of intelligence that doesn't scream for attention, but commands it through presence. Now maybe you're watching this because you've been told you're too emotional. Or maybe because you've been too numb for too long. Or maybe, just maybe, you're here because something inside you knows you're done reacting and ready to lead your life from a deeper, steadier place. Emotional intelligence isn't about being soft, it's about being grounded. It's the ability to hold space in the storm, to choose your response instead of surrendering to your reflex. And in relationships, especially romantic ones, it's the quiet difference between control and connection, reaction and reflection, breakdown and breakthrough. In this video, we're going to explore exactly how emotionally intelligent women don't just succeed in relationships, they elevate them. You'll see how they disarm conflict without aggression, how they set boundaries without hostility, how they listen without defensiveness and love without losing themselves. Whether you're a woman looking to become this, or someone hoping to understand her, what you'll discover here isn't just a list of traits. It's a path, one paved with the wisdom of ancient philosophy and the real, raw truths of modern life. And if something about this message already stirs something in you, welcome. You're in the right place. This channel, Stoic Now, exists for those who seek peace without passivity, power without pretense, and presence without performance. If what you hear today resonates, I invite you to like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your reflections. Not just to support the channel, but to join a conversation that matters. Now take a deep breath, because what you're about to learn isn't about changing others. It's about remembering the most powerful place to lead from, yourself. Let's begin. Number 1, emotional regulation over reactivity. In every relationship, there comes a moment that tests your center. Maybe he says something careless. Maybe he forgets what mattered to you. Maybe it's silence, wounding, heavy, and unexplained. And in that split second, your heart races, your breath shortens, and your mind surges with stories. This is where most people fall, into blame, into raised voices, into old patterns that never truly resolve anything. But not her. The emotionally intelligent woman doesn't leap into reaction. She leans into the pause. That pause is not weakness. It's her shield. It's her edge. In that moment, she doesn't just feel, she chooses. She doesn't explode, withdraw, or punish. Instead, she takes a breath so steady it silences chaos. This is emotional regulation, not emotional suppression. It's the discipline of responding with clarity, not confusion. And in that space, she transforms the entire dynamic of the relationship. Neuroscience supports what ancient wisdom has long known. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is the power to choose. That space is where the amygdala's reflex gives way to the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for reason, empathy, and strategy. The emotionally intelligent woman lives in that space. Not always perfectly, but with intention. Marcus Aurelius, who led an empire while battling war and grief, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's emotional regulation in action, not denying your emotions, but mastering how they move through you. Now imagine a couple arguing. He accuses, voice rising. She doesn't mirror his volume. She mirrors the truth beneath it. "Are you feeling unheard right now?" she asks, not sarcastically, not to disarm, but to truly understand. That shift deflates the conflict. Because her calm isn't performative. It's real. It's rooted. This doesn't mean she tolerates disrespect. It means she responds without diminishing herself or the other. She knows that every reaction is a ripple, and her choice to remain composed is not about ego, it's about energy. Emotional regulation is energy conservation. It's the art of protecting your peace without making someone else your enemy. She's not detached. She's deeply present. And presence, true presence, is often more powerful than any spoken defense. This kind of strength isn't something she was born with. It was cultivated through heartbreak, through boundaries learned the hard way, through choosing solitude over drama long enough to hear her own voice clearly. And now, that voice is her compass. When a woman masters her reactions, she doesn't lose emotion, she gains power. The kind of power that doesn't need to be loud to be heard. So if you've ever felt like you react too fast or too intensely, don't shame yourself. Just remember, the pause is always available. It's not the absence of feeling. It's the choice to feel fully, then respond wisely. Because in that quiet moment between feeling and action lives the kind of strength that heals everything. Number 2, self-awareness before projection. It's easy to point fingers, to say, he's distant, she doesn't care, or they never listen. It's much harder, and far more courageous, to ask, what part of me is being triggered right now? Or what old wound is surfacing here? That's the work of emotional intelligence. And emotionally intelligent women, they reach for the mirror before they look out the window. Self-awareness isn't just knowing your favorite food or your Myers-Briggs type. It's the brave, uncomfortable willingness to sit with yourself when something hurts and ask why. It's peeling back the reaction, layer by layer, until you get to the origin. Not to blame yourself, but to free yourself. The emotionally intelligent woman doesn't project her pain. She pauses, reflects, and gets curious. Instead of saying, "You're making me feel unimportant," she might ask herself, "Is this about him? Or is this about the part of me that still feels unseen from childhood?" That's not overthinking. That's emotional mastery. And this kind of clarity is built, not inherited. It's forged in late-night journal entries, in therapy sessions, in mindful walks where she lets her thoughts untangle in the quiet. It's asking, "Why do I feel this way?" without rushing to find someone to blame. The Stoic philosophers knew this well. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If you don't examine those thoughts, those hidden beliefs, stories, and insecurities, you begin to mistake them for truth. And worse, you project them onto people who never caused them. In relationships, that projection can be deadly. It turns misunderstanding into mistrust. It makes you feel unloved when really, you're just unhealed. But self-awareness cuts through the fog. It says, wait, this tension I feel, could it be coming from me? And that one question can change everything. I remember working with a woman named Elaine. Strong, articulate, successful. But in relationships, she'd spiral. If her partner didn't text back within an hour, she assumed the worst. He's pulling away. He's lost interest. But when we dug deeper, we found a story she'd carried since childhood, one where love always left. That fear lived in her nervous system, not in the behavior of the man she was dating. And when she learned to observe it instead of obey it, she found peace. She stopped turning her partners into villains. She became the safe space she was seeking. This is what emotionally intelligent women understand. Before you interpret someone's actions, interpret your own emotions. Before you conclude, inquire. Before you accuse, ask yourself, what's really mine to own here? Because when you make self-awareness a habit, your whole world shifts. You no longer bleed on people who didn't cut you. You stop chasing closure in others and start creating clarity within. And that is when love becomes less about needing and more about seeing. Number 3, listening to understand, not to win. There's a kind of silence that speaks louder than any clever comeback. A kind of pause that invites, not to argue, but to witness. And emotionally intelligent women know this well. True listening isn't about preparing your next sentence. It's about being present enough to hear the truth behind someone else's words, even when they come wrapped in emotion or imperfection or pain. Most people listen to reply, to defend, to prove a point. But when you do that, you're not really listening. You're waiting to speak. You're filtering their words through your fears, your past, your assumptions. That's not connection. That's competition disguised as conversation. But emotional intelligence flips that. It makes space, not noise. An emotionally intelligent woman knows that understanding is often more powerful than being right. She's not interested in winning an argument if it means losing the relationship. So when her partner says something hurtful or distant or messy, she doesn't rush to correct or retaliate or retreat. She leans in and asks, "Can you tell me what you meant by that?" Not because she's passive, but because she's grounded. She's not listening to be convinced. She's listening to understand. This is what the Stoics meant when they spoke of temperance, not just restraint from indulgence, but balance in response. Seneca once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we may listen more and talk less." In that space between hearing and replying, understanding grows. Compassion lives. Imagine a moment. Her partner, overwhelmed, says something clipped. "You don't get it. You're not helping." That could start a fight. It used to. But now she breathes. She doesn't take it personally, because she's trained her mind not to assume malice in every moment of tension. She hears the pain beneath his words. And so she says, gently, "Help me understand what's going on for you right now." That's not softness. That's strength. You see, the emotionally intelligent woman doesn't just hear the words. She hears the wound. She listens with her whole body, her eyes, her stillness, her restraint. And in that presence, she disarms what would have become a storm. Real listening requires the death of ego. It demands that you stop rehearsing your response and start receiving someone's reality. And when 2 people listen like that, something sacred unfolds. The conversation becomes a bridge, not a battleground. This doesn't mean she tolerates emotional abuse or stays silent when disrespected. It means she picks her moments. She lets clarity lead, not pride. She doesn't let her tongue move faster than her awareness. Because she understands this, listening doesn't weaken your position. It deepens your wisdom. And in relationships built on understanding, not just reaction, conflict doesn't destroy connection. It strengthens it. Number 4, boundaries without ultimatums. There's a difference between drawing a line and building a wall. One protects connection, the other severs it. Emotionally intelligent women know the difference, and they live it with grace. Their strength doesn't shout. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't say, "Do this or I'll leave." It says, "This is who I am. This is what I need. You're free to meet me here or not." Boundaries aren't about control. They're about clarity. And clarity is a form of love, not just for others, but for yourself. The emotionally intelligent woman doesn't play games. She doesn't manipulate. She doesn't use silence as a weapon or affection as leverage. Her boundaries are quiet declarations of self-respect. They're consistent, not conditional. Rooted, not reactive. If she's being spoken to in a way that disrespects her, she won't match that tone. But she also won't stay silent and stew in resentment. She might say something like, "I want to continue this conversation, but not if I'm being yelled at." No raised voice. No threat of abandonment. Just truth. And when truth is delivered with peace, it carries weight. Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." And that's exactly what she does. Her life isn't a performance of self-worth. It's a practice of it. Boundaries are most beautiful when they don't need to be loud. They're powerful because they're steady. She knows what behavior crosses the line, not because she wants to punish someone, but because she's already decided what kind of treatment she will never normalize. This kind of clarity comes from deep work, from knowing your values, from walking through relationships where you lost yourself and vowing never to do that again. It's not bitterness. It's wisdom. She doesn't build high walls around her heart. She just puts a door there, and she guards the key with discernment, not fear. I once knew a woman who had spent years in relationships where her boundaries were constantly tested. Every time she voiced a need, she was told she was too sensitive. Every time she asked for space, she was guilted into shrinking. Until one day, she stopped explaining. She started embodying. "I don't raise my voice," she said one day during a tense moment. "And I won't be spoken to that way. When we're both calm, I'm here." That moment didn't just set a boundary. It reset the relationship dynamic. Boundaries don't push people away. They invite in only what aligns with your peace. They filter, not because you're fragile, but because your energy is sacred. So no, the emotionally intelligent woman doesn't give ultimatums. She doesn't use control masked as concern. She doesn't threaten to leave. She simply walks when she's no longer being met with respect. Because she knows, love should not require the abandonment of self. And peace is not something you beg for. It's something you protect. Number 5. They don't chase. They attract through presence. There's a quiet strength that doesn't chase anything, and yet everything finds its way to it. It doesn't beg, doesn't perform, doesn't shrink or shout for attention. It just is. And emotionally intelligent women live in this kind of presence. They don't need to chase because they've already found what matters within themselves. The world often tells women to be desirable by being accessible, to keep texting, keep checking, keep proving. But emotional intelligence whispers something far more powerful. You don't attract through effort. You attract through essence. And that essence is built in stillness, in knowing your worth, even when it's not being mirrored back. She doesn't panic when the energy shifts. She doesn't spiral if he pulls away. Not because she's indifferent, but because she doesn't seek emotional oxygen outside of herself. Her peace is not something a relationship gives her. It's something she brings into the relationship. This is the secure attachment the Stoics pointed to long before modern psychology named it. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Emotional intelligence translates that into, love me, but don't complete me. Choose me, but no, I've already chosen myself. You'll know her when you meet her. She doesn't over-explain. She doesn't flood your phone with anxious messages. She gives space, not as a tactic, but as a natural extension of her inner calm. Her absence feels like presence, because even when she's not around, something about her lingers, her clarity, her warmth, her steadiness. She knows that desperation doesn't attract depth. That real connection grows in the soil of self-trust, not self-abandonment. And so she doesn't chase, not because she's cold, but because she honors what's mutual. What flows? What doesn't need to be forced? I remember a man once told me, I didn't fall for her because she needed me. I fell for her because she didn't. That wasn't rejection. That was revelation. Her self-contained peace made him want to be a part of her world, not because she invited him in, but because she didn't need to. This doesn't mean she never longs. She feels deeply. She hopes. She dreams. But she does so from a grounded place. And when love doesn't return, she doesn't collapse. She grieves with grace and moves forward, not chasing closure, but continuing her own evolution. Because emotionally intelligent women understand this. The deepest attraction isn't built on scarcity or games. It's built on presence. And presence can't be faked. It's not a strategy, it's a state of being. So if you're watching this and wondering how to be missed, how to be valued, how to be unforgettable, begin here. Come home to yourself. Learn the language of silence. And let your stillness speak. The ones who are meant for you will hear it clearly. Number 6, accountability, not victimhood. There's a moment in every relationship, sometimes subtle, sometimes sharp, where something breaks. A misstep, a misunderstanding, a word that cuts too deep. And in that moment, we all have a choice, to point outward or to look inward. Emotionally intelligent women choose the mirror over the magnifying glass. They don't live in blame. They live in ownership. Accountability doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything. It means taking responsibility for your role, your words, your reactions, your patterns. It's recognizing that while you can't control what someone does to you, you can always control how you show up in response. Emotionally intelligent women don't avoid discomfort. They lean into it. They say things like, I overreacted, and I'm sorry, or I can see how my silence hurt you. Not as a performance, but as a genuine act of reflection. And that one simple shift, from defense to ownership, heals more than any apology ever could. The Stoics taught that we must examine our own soul before judging another. Seneca wrote, "He who excuses himself accuses himself." But emotional intelligence reframes that. It's not about self-condemnation, it's about clarity. It's about realizing that every reaction is a chance to grow, not a verdict to fear. When a woman owns her flaws, her tone, her triggers, she becomes untouchable in the best way. Because no one can manipulate someone who's already doing their own emotional inventory. She's not perfect. She's honest. I once watched a couple navigate a hard moment. He had shut down emotionally after a stressful week, and she felt abandoned. The old version of her might have lashed out, withdrawn, created distance. But instead, she said, I recognize I made a story in my head, that you didn't care, and I didn't ask for what I needed. That's on me. His eyes softened, not because she let him off the hook, but but because her self-awareness gave him the safety to meet her there. Accountability invites intimacy. It disarms the need for defense. And when both people show up with that kind of humility, conflict becomes fertile ground, not scorched earth. This doesn't mean she accepts mistreatment or takes on all the blame. It means she's willing to ask, what part of this is mine to carry? And just as bravely, she's willing to say, this part isn't. Emotionally intelligent women don't play the victim, not because they've never been hurt, but because they've made a choice. They've decided that healing matters more than being right, that growth matters more than grievance, and that love, true love, is a practice, not a prize. Accountability is not weakness. It's power with a quiet pulse. And when you walk through life that way, with your head high and your heart open, you don't need to fight for respect. You become the kind of person who already has it. Number 7. Master conflict through calm. Conflict is inevitable. In every deep relationship, there will be friction, misalignment, emotional weather. But the emotionally intelligent woman does not fear conflict. She doesn't avoid it, dramatize it, or let it define the bond. She meets it with calm, not because she's indifferent, but because she's deeply anchored. When others raise their voices, she lowers hers. When blame flies, she doesn't throw it back. She redirects the energy. She understands what Epictetus once taught. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This isn't just a quote. It's her compass. She doesn't see conflict as a threat. She sees it as a mirror, a chance to understand the unseen, to ask, not attack, to clarify, not crucify. Imagine a disagreement unfolding. Her partner forgets something important. The old version of herself might have snapped. You never care. But now, with emotional intelligence as her guide, she takes a different path. Her tone is measured. Her words are intentional. When you missed that moment, it made me feel unseen. Can we talk about why that happened? The same hurt is present, but now it's directed toward healing, not harming. This shift may seem small, but it changes everything. The emotionally intelligent woman understands the power of phrasing. She replaces "you always" with "I feel." She trades accusations for questions. She doesn't suppress her feelings. She just delivers them in a way that invites response, not resistance. Conflict becomes less about winning, more about weaving, reweaving trust, safety, and shared understanding. I once spoke with a woman named Myra. Her partner had a temper, and in the early days, she matched it. Two fires trying to outburn each other. But she began to change, not to shrink, but to stabilize. She learned that her calm wasn't weakness, it was leadership. Over time, her steady presence softened his edges. Not because she fixed him, but because she refused to feed chaos with chaos. This kind of composure isn't born, it's built. Through mindfulness, through reflection, through the decision to prioritize peace over pride. And let's be clear, calm does not mean passive. The emotionally intelligent woman doesn't stay silent to keep the peace. She speaks, but she does so from the eye of the storm, not the swirl. She knows that how something is said often determines whether it's truly heard. When she's hurt, she doesn't bury it. She brings it forward with grace. When she's angry, she doesn't explode. She gets curious. What's underneath this feeling? She asks herself. And from that place, her words become tools, not weapons. Conflict, to her, is not a battlefield. It's a bridge, and she crosses it with poise. Because she knows, real strength doesn't always raise its voice. Sometimes, it simply refuses to lose its ground. By now, you've seen her, not in someone else, but maybe in the version of yourself you're becoming. The woman who no longer lets chaos decide her voice. The one who listens deeper, responds slower, and loves from a place that doesn't beg to be seen, because she already sees herself. What we've explored together isn't just a set of relationship strategies. It's a blueprint for inner strength. Emotional intelligence is not some distant ideal. It's a practice, a series of choices, small ones, powerful ones, and they begin within. You've seen how she doesn't react, she regulates. She doesn't accuse, she reflects. She doesn't speak to win, she speaks to understand. She doesn't use ultimatums, she uses clarity. She doesn't chase, she grounds. She doesn't play the victim, she takes responsibility. And when conflict comes, as it always does, she doesn't crumble. She leads. With calm, with care, with composure. These are not traits she was born with. These are muscles she's built, often through pain, through betrayal, through lonely nights spent realizing that peace isn't found in another's validation, but in your own self-respect. That the deepest connection you can ever form is the one between your own heart and mind. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And how often do we waste precious time tangled in emotional reactions we never chose, playing roles we never examined, saying things we don't mean just to prove a point we don't believe? The emotionally intelligent woman has learned to stop wasting time. She responds from purpose, not pattern. And that is her power. And if you're wondering, can I become her? Let me say this as clearly as I can. Yes. Every moment you choose curiosity over judgment, you step closer. Every time you breathe before reacting, you step closer. Every boundary spoken with love, every emotion owned without blame, every silence held with grace. These are the bricks. And you are already building. This is your invitation to stop proving yourself to people who can't hear you, and start returning to the version of you that doesn't need to scream to be heard. So as you step back into your world today, take one thing with you. Emotional intelligence is not about being liked. It's about being aligned. It's about becoming so rooted in who you are that nothing and no one can pull you off course. Now I invite you, gently and from the heart, to reflect. Which part of today's message stirred something in you? Have you seen yourself in these stories, these truths, these shifts? If so, leave a comment below. Not for engagement, but for connection. Let this space be one of shared wisdom, not noise. Like this video if it brought you peace, and subscribe to Stoic now if you want more guidance on walking this path, not just in love, but in life. Remember, emotional intelligence doesn't guarantee perfect relationships, but it does guarantee this: you will never again abandon yourself trying to hold on to something or someone that isn't rooted in truth. Until next time, stay calm, stay clear, stay sovereign.